In Unit 12, topic number 4, we're just going to talk about some applications of trigonometry. We've already probably done some of these problems in class a little bit, but just to formalize this a little bit more. So when we do any application or word problems in general, a great tool is to always just draw a picture. So the steps we're going to use is draw a picture, then we're going to set up a trig ratio and solve. Pretty similarly to how we solved for missing sides and angles in topic number 2 and topic number 3, okay? So it says a kite, example 1, a kite is flying 115 feet above the ground. The length of the string of a kite is 150 feet, measured from the ground, and then it's telling me to find the angle to the nearest degree that the string makes with the ground. Okay, so I have a kite that's flying up in the air. Ooh, there's the kite, okay? There's a string connected to the ground, okay? The length of the string is 150 feet. That's going to be this length of the string there. And it's 115 feet above the ground, so going up this way is 115 feet. And notice it's making a right triangle here, okay? It says find the angle near to the nearest degree that the string makes with the ground. So I believe that angle is right here with the blue and the green, okay? So let's identify our givens and set up a trig ratio. I'm looking for this angle. I'm given the opposite side and the hypotenuse, right? So I think SOHCAHTOA, let's think, SOHCAHTOA. Sine, cosine, tangent, which one relates the opposite and the hypotenuse? I think that is sine. So I'm going to use sine, and we're going to set up our equation. Sine of x degrees, we don't know, equals opposite over hypotenuse. That's 115. Excuse my drawing there. So 115 over the hypotenuse, which is 150. And now this is what I was talking about in topic 3, where you have to think, okay, I'm solving for a missing angle. That means I want to use my inverse trig, right? So I'm going to say sine inverse. And an inverse trig, I input the ratio, so 115 over 150, and that will give me the angle. And now let's use our calculator. Sine inverse of 115 divided by 150, and we're going to the nearest degree, which means the whole number, so that's 50, because it's 50.05, which is just 50 degrees, and that's what it makes with the ground, okay? Now there's two specific cases that we learn about. We have the angle of elevation and the angle of depression, okay? So the angle of elevation is the angle from the ground looking up at an object, okay? And then the angle of depression, so the elevation is the ground looking up, okay, and where your eyesight goes there. The angle of depression, you start by looking off horizontal, and then I look down at an object. So this angle here looking down would be x and x. So the angle looking up, the angle looking down. Okay? So let's do two examples of each of those. So in example, I'm actually going to flip just so I have a little bit more space. Okay? So in example number 2, Blake sees a tree in the distance. He measures the angle of elevation to the top of the tree is at 38 degrees. He then walks to the base of the tree and finds that he has been 64 feet away. How tall is the tree? Okay, so let's draw a picture here. We have some tree. It's a beautiful tree, right? And we have Blake, who's over here, okay? And Blake is looking up at the tree at an angle of 30 degrees, so, or 38 degrees, excuse me. So the angle looking up at the tree is 38 degrees. And he walks to the base of the tree and discovers that he's 64 feet away. So that's the horizontal distance. So we have this triangle here, a right triangle, where one side is 64 and I'm given the angle. So let's solve using the trig strategies that we have. Identify my givens. I'm given 38. Oh, sorry, how tall is the tree? We're trying to find the height up here. So I want to find the opposite side, and I'm given the adjacent side. So let's look at SOHCAHTOA. Okay, opposite and adjacent, I think that that is tangent. So we're going to set up the equation. Tangent of the angle is 38 equals opposite over adjacent. Opposite is x, adjacent is 64. Solving this equation, we've done this before, multiply by 64 on both sides, and I get those cancel, and you get 64 times the tangent of 38 will equal x. And let's use our calculator. So plug in 64 tangent of 38, and we're in feet, so that's 50 feet, almost exactly 50 feet away. Or sorry, 50 feet tall. Okay, so that's angle of elevation. It's actually a lot similar, more similar to what we've been doing with other examples. But example 3 is a little bit different. Let's look at angle of depression. So example 3 says Ashley is on a building 500 meters above the ground. So let's draw that first, because here's my building and here's Ashley. She's 500 meters above the ground, so that's like the height of the building, right? 500. She looks out over the city to see a meter maid is writing her a ticket. I don't know if we call them meter maids anymore, but like a parking clerk, like someone that kind of walks around and gives you tickets. So she's looking at her car, okay, and it says the angle of elevation, the angle of depression to the car is 20 degrees. So she's looking down at the car. And remember, the angle of depression is the horizontal distance looking down. That's 20 degrees, okay? And it says, what is the horizontal distance between Ashley and the car? So we're looking at this right triangle here, okay? And I'm looking for the horizontal distance. And notice this angle of depression actually isn't inside my triangle. So you have two options. You can either use the fact that these are parallel, this is a transversal, and you have alternate interior angles there, okay? So that you know that this side is 20, this angle is 20 degrees as well, all right? Or what you could do is know that this angle up here makes a 90-degree angle, and you could do 90 minus 20 and know that this angle here is 70, okay? Either way, it will work. For the sake of these notes, I'll use alternate interior angles because I think that some of you might find that a little bit easier to remember because it's the same angle, okay? So now let's use our trig ratios. I have the opposite side and the adjacent side. Again, kind of like the last example, that's our tangent function. So tangent of 20 equals opposite is 500 divided by x. And we've solved this equation before, so I'm going to multiply by x on both sides and get x times the tangent of 20 equals 50. I have an extra step here. I have to divide by tangent of 20 on both sides. And I get that x equals 50 divided by the tangent of 20 using your calculator. And I get 137. Let's just round to, we've been rounding to the nearest whole number, so let's do that again. So 137 meters away is where she is, okay? So that's the difference between angle of elevation and angle of depression, and good luck. If you have any questions, feel free to ask your teacher. Have a good night.